8 years ago is when this journey started. As I prepare to leave on a trip to ride to the very end of South America, let me explain where it all began. In the spring of 2015, while I was sitting on the couch watching a documentary about Denali National Park, I decided that I would ride to Alaska. While I didn't know it at the time, this trip would be the first leg of a trip that would be nearly a decade in the making. This trip started by riding north through Seattle and Seattle traffic until we got into British Columbia, where we took the scenic Fraser River Valley north. We spent the night in Cache Creek before heading farther north on our way to Prince George.
There we go, we're in Prince George and we're heading into the rain.
Despite the weather, we were able to find an amazing camping spot along a lake just north of Prince George. Continuing to get farther and farther north, we eventually make it to Dawson Creek, British Columbia. This is where mile 0 of the Alaska Highway is and where the adventure begins. Riding through afternoon rain showers. When the weather let up, we found a place to camp along an oil field workers' camp next to the highway.
So here it is. It is about 10:30 at night, and this is how much light is still in my tent. And we're also about 40 feet from the Alcan Highway set up here, so I'm going to put my earplugs in and try to figure out how to sleep in this. I don't even know if it's even going to get dark tonight.
This particular stretch of the Alaska Highway had been closed the day before due to forest fires. We also found out that this is one of the longest stretches without gas anywhere on the trip.
All the way on empty. Empty. Let's come over and see what mine says. That's mine. Not empty.
At one of the many construction stops, we ran into Subash, who was riding his small motorcycle from Mumbai all the way to Alaska. The Northern Rocky Mountains at the very top of British Columbia give you some of the best riding on the Alcan and some of the best views as you ride along the lakes and the mountains. As it often happens in the mountains, we were welcomed to this beautiful area by thunderstorms and torrential rain.
So here we are in a amazing spot with a great view all around us. But like we tend to do so much, we are waiting on the flagger and construction and waiting for a pilot car to show up to take us to wherever we go. All we want to do is get to our campsite for the night.
That night's stop was Leard Hot Springs, where Subash would join us and we would all spend the evening soaking in the hot springs. The rain would not give us a break. Most days we spent riding in the rain, though it often cleared up in the evenings when it was time for us to set up camp. There are places whose very name evoke a sense of adventure. The Yukon is one of those places. Having ridden my motorcycle all the way to the Yukon felt like a real accomplishment.
So here we are. It's about 10 o'clock at night, and it is bright as I can get out. I took some video from outside the tent just before I got in here to do this, and we are now above 60 degrees north. I think we were almost to 61 degrees north when I looked at the GPS while we were having dinner before we went to bed. I don't know how sleep's going to go for us tonight, but I have a feeling that you're going to see a lot of, pull a hat over the eyes and try to create darkness however we can. But we're pretty tired. We had a long day. We spent a lot of time in the wind and just trying to keep the bike between the lanes, which at times wasn't easy, but we got here. We had other than that, we're in Yukon now. So tomorrow we're going to try to get into the city of Whitehorse, which is the capital of the Yukon, and hopefully do some laundry, get some real food, have some time in the city in a short day so we can get caught up before we push on to Fairbanks. And we'll probably take another 2 days after Whitehorse, I think.
Yeah. It's a good day. Short day, actually. We didn't go too far. We did maybe 150 miles?
Sounds good.
150 miles. But we needed it. We've been cranking out the miles. We've done almost 2,000 miles in 6 days. A short day, and then walking around the town. We went and had some beers at the Yukon Inn, because we were going to go to Yukon Brewing, but they told us that they don't really have a pub and there's no food. You can only do a brewery tour, and they kind of give you some beer. And somebody recommended this place as having a lot of taps. The guy explained it like a lot of taps, like this many. They had 5. So in Portland terms, that's not a lot of taps, but maybe in Whitehorse, Yukon terms, that's a lot of taps. So, but we got our beer. They had 5 different Yukon Brewing beers. So we tried a few of them, and we had a good meal, so that was good. And then walked around downtown, went to the farmer's market, picked up our dinner. We got a big day tomorrow. We're going to try to, if the road conditions work out and the construction zones work out and let us through, we're going to try to get into Alaska tomorrow and to Tok. But that's almost a 400-mile day, so we're going to be doing some riding, but we'll finally be to Alaska. We'll be out of Canada. Hopefully beer will be cheaper. Hopefully there'll be places to pull off and take pictures. We might actually see something since blasting past it at 80 miles an hour. We do now 130 clicks. Good and dirty. Just a little bit of gravel, right?
After leaving Whitehorse, we rode past Destruction Bay on our way to the final destination, which was Alaska. Fourteen 1,422 miles after leaving Dawson Creek, we reached Delta Junction. This is the end of the Alaska Highway on our way to Fairbanks. We set off into the rain once again, where we crossed paths with Subash once again just outside of Fairbanks. We were planning to spend the night in the backyard of an adventure rider who had offered us space, but we got quite the surprise when we got there.
It's wet. It's probably going to be cheap unless you want to stay at the place that we're staying. But that's all the way in Fairbanks, so that's another 30 miles. Okay, then. Go to Fairbanks, mate. No problem. Okay. So
We'll go to North Pole because we were gonna stop at North Pole for a few minutes. So we'll be there and we'll meet you in North Pole, and then we'll kind of catch each other there. Yeah. Go back. Yep, go back.
Tonight we made a little bit of an upgrade. Whoa. So Ramy from ADV Rider hooked us up. We showed up here at his house in Fairbanks, and he had told us that we could put a tent up in his lawn, or there'd be a safe place for us to stay and not to worry about it. So we got here, and his mom came to the door and said, "It's pouring down rain. You don't need to worry about the tents. We have a little cabin just the next driveway down. It's on our land." So she brought us down here and gave us this. So come on in.
It's like MTV Crib style.
Except no Scarface poster. Just as our doings for the night. We got ourselves a wood stove, and we are trying to dry all of our gear out.
Yep.
We rode through some torrential rain today. It was brutal for about 5 hours of pouring rain. So we have it all strewn out, and we're using the wood stove to get it all dried out. And so hopefully tomorrow we start out dry before we get wet.
Alright, so here we go. This is how you get to the Denali employee bar. That's how you do it. It's in the back. There's a couple of railroad cars.
It was a good night. So we this morning I had a rip in my rain fly for my backpack. So we went to the REI in Fairbanks, and they did not have the rain fly in stock. So I still have a rip in my rain fly, but it's not solved with duct tape. But after walking around for a while, the guy that helped us out asked us why we were going and why I couldn't just order one. So we gave him the story about the motorcycle trip and backpacking in Denali. And he says, when you're in Denali, you need to ask somebody how to get to a certain bar that can't go named, because it's the employee bar. And so it's where all of the Denali employees and the people working here go to get cheap beers and drink when they get off work. So we get here and we check in with the backcountry people, and then we have to go get a tent for the night because our backcountry permits starts tomorrow. And so we asked the dude how to get to the bar, and he gets a kind of a big grin on his face, and he's like, "Oh, you got to go there, man." He's like, "The food's awesome, the beers are cheap," and he draws us on a map on how to get there. So after we set up our tents, we wandered over there, and we have spent the last 3 hours or so hanging out in the employee bar, drinking and bullshitting with people and telling all sorts of funny stories. And it's just a good night. Everything works out, you know. The stuff that was an annoyance this morning with a little rip in my rain fly and wondering if I was going to have a wet backpack later today was solved with a $3 roll of duct tape, and we ended up having a great experience drinking with the employees at Denali instead of just going to the tourist trap. We will go to bed and get up, pack everything up, and meet our ranger girlfriends for the day, who, after we checked into the backcountry center, told us that they'd be riding the same bus as we were out to the same places. Bothered here. Let me show you the view. that I will get to wake up to tomorrow. Hold this back and let me try to send it out here. It is our first night in Denali. It is pretty late and it is still very, very, very bright, but we had a big, about 5-mile hike from the visitor center midway, about the 60-mile mark, up and across one of the big rivers, and we had a pretty good sized river crossing, so that was some work, some time, and some very, very, very cold feet. But we are in our campsite for the night. I think it's about 10 o'clock, and we are hitting bed very, very fast. Yeah, we can't complain too much. We camped just behind Tim in that little green section there, and now we're out. Yeah, back there. And now we're having our morning coffee. It's about 7:30. We got up pretty early this morning. We went to bed early. We were beat. We had to cross a big mountain ridge to get from where we camped last night to where we camped tonight. And it was a good 2,500 feet vertical, because John can't read a topo map very well, apparently, with 100-foot scale instead of 40-foot scale. So I told Tim it was 3/4 of a mile to a mile and 1,500 feet, and that's what I thought. And we kept climbing and kept climbing and kept climbing, and it was a little bit higher. But we got to the top of the ridge line, and we were above all of this stuff below us, and we got to sit, and McKinley made an appearance with no clouds or anything. We got a couple of pictures, but more soaked in the moment and enjoyed being up there and seeing a mountain that not very many people get to see, and seeing it from a vantage point that even fewer get to see it. So we'll take that any day of the week. It was worth 3 days of beating ourselves up, walking around in the middle of fucking nowhere.
I got your tripod here. Did we use that to take a picture of us at McKinley?
No. I lugged that beast for 3 days, and we got to the top, and there were 2 ranger chicks up there when we got there. They had ridden the bus up with us, and they came through the section that we're going out and up the ridge, and we came the other side that they're going through today and up the ridge, and we met at the top point, and so they kindly took our picture for us together, so I didn't have to use my tripod that I carried all that way. But just to make up for it, we took a picture this morning while we were taking coffee, so that I could say that I used the tripod so it wasn't carried in vain the entire time. That's why it's out. So moral of the story is, don't carry your tripod, just rely on meeting a couple of hot chicks somewhere on the top of a mountain. So here we are at our place for tonight. We lucked out and scored pretty good. Let me show you what we have here. Top tip for motorcycle riders, the University of Alaska Anchorage rents out rooms. It cost us $35 each per night to stay in the dorm rooms. And what we have is a nice suite for me. And if we come over to the other side over here, we have a suite for Tim. So this is by far the most luxurious setup that we have had on the trip. We have real beds, real toilet, real showers, and we didn't have to put it up tonight.
So it was already built for us. So that's really, really nice. After staying the night in Anchorage, we did a day trip around the Kenai Peninsula, including a stop at the Kenai Fords National Park.
Yeah, we're all the same, we are the chosen one.
The next morning, we headed out of Anchorage and onto the Glen Highway. This became one of our favorite routes of the entire trip, as the scenery is unbelievable and the riding is just as good.
We're doing all the things that money can't buy. Yeah, we're never gonna die. Baby, it's summer for the rest of our lives. Baby, it's summer for the rest of our lives.
Arriving in Tok, we got back on the Alcan and headed south and started the long trek home, though we would take a slightly different route stopping through Haines and Skagway on our way back.
Baby, it's summer for the rest of our lives.
So they're still jiggling the handlebars. I think I turned the video camera on a few times, so maybe we can capture some shake action from the video camera on the handlebars. But I think it's trying to vibrate the bikes apart slowly but surely and getting them good and dirty. They look like they've been through the war now. My chain will never be the same.
Skies, living our lives, put your hand in mine. We're doing all the things that money can't buy. Yeah, we're never gonna die. Baby, it's summer for the rest of our lives. Baby, it's summer for the rest of our lives.
Here we are at junction 37, and right over there is the Alaskan Highway that we have done about 2,000 miles on, all 1,460 up and a good chunk of it back, and we are done with it. So this is kind of a big moment. We're excited to be off of it. Don't know if you can see everything, but back that way is the Yukon and thunderstorms and cold weather. And over this way is British Columbia.
We're staying out all night.
Leaving the Alcan, we took the Kasier Highway south on our way to Hyder, Alaska.
Hand in mine. We're doing all the things that money can't buy. Yeah, we're never gonna die. Maybe it's summer for the rest of our lives.
The road into Hyder, Alaska goes through a deep canyon, and the highlight of the whole ride is a giant glacier that is right there along the roadside.
So here we are. We are not too far from Hyder, Alaska. We driven 30 miles today to get here. Most of it was pretty unassuming. It was pretty, it was nice, but the road was not great, and we were in and out of rain showers all day. And it's flipping cold here for a reason, as you can see right behind me. About 1,000 feet across that river is a giant hunk of ice. So I think we picked a pretty scenic place to come to.
You know, you get the feeling that things are real when it is actually telling your work that you are leaving. So that's where I'm at. That's the I guess I'm going. I guess that's the plan. So
Our tomorrows yesterday.